Hello, and welcome to our video, The Ring Makers, Saturn's Rings Explained. In the video we will share a brief introduction to a rarely spoken topic about some NASA Voyager images taken back in the early 80s. For your further study and research, we will offer reference materials near the end of this video. Now, the public NASA Voyager images create such a debate on the creation process of Saturn's ring system and intelligent life outside of Earth that NASA downplayed the discovery even to this day. Facts are that the images, if proven true, will rewrite all the books on how our solar system formed long ago and how a crater on our moon appears artificial. It was one scientist, a Dr. Norman Bergrun, who brought attention to magnificent anomalies that he observed on a few Voyager images he had the honor to study. Dr. Bergrun's credentials are as follows: an alumnus of Ames Research Laboratory, NACA, National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, predecessor of Ames Research Center, NASA, where he worked 12 years as a research scientist. The source material that Dr. Norman Bergrun used were only NASA Voyager 1 and 2 images. The images were transferred to 35mm slides which he ordered and used in his book. Today, the Voyager images available at the NASA website is limited, and we are not sure it would be possible to order a set anymore. Perhaps the Library of Congress might have a set or two. From the images of Saturn is the 12th of November 1980 for Voyager 1 and the 26th of August 1981 for Voyager 2. Without photography from these flybys, the science story presented herein could not be told. Strange anomaly of Saturn rings can be observed when Dr. Norman Bergrun examining full-color photos through the enhancing of photographs taken during the Voyager 1 flight to Saturn in 1980. It can be seen on one of the photographs that the A-ring is incomplete. The doctor sets out to explain this phenomenon in an understandable form. The famous Cassini and Encke gaps also fit into the doctor's explanation. These microphotography revelations employed by Dr. Norman Bergrun are reinforced by, and are consistent with, scientific data extending over centuries as far back as Galileo. Dr. Bergrun further shows a relation to the well-defined crater on the Earth's moon called Mare Orientale. The process of prepping the images began with using the publicly available NASA photographs from Voyager 1 and 2 flybys of Saturn. Photographic enhancement has been accomplished by enlarging negatives with a microscope having recording and high-intensity lighting capabilities. Self-developing positive film recorded the various selected images contained in negatives. Copies of original photomicrographic recordings are the product of professional film processing services, having been obtained by pre-scheduled flight programming. Voyager photographs are scientifically unique in that they are strictly impersonal. The discovery made of the incomplete Saturn ring was not the anomaly. Dr. Bergrun's major discovery reveals that NASA's Voyager 1980 and 2 space probes took photographs of an estimated 7,000-mile-long elliptical, cigar-shaped, craft orbiting in the rings of Saturn. Identification of extraterrestrial vehicles, apparently possessing ancient historical presence in the solar system, is a new discovery having many ramifications. Attention, however, is focused on presenting factual information which can be gleaned from the pictures. Cameras, being well-established scientific instruments, provide direct data of the seeing is believing variety. Magnitude of the Saturnian breakthrough would appear to be substantial. Saturnian space vehicles, strangely unusual in their great size and appearance, introduce a new and unpredictable variable into affairs worldwide. Some hitherto reported events are recounted in terms of vehicle capabilities with a view toward postulating some concept of what the future portends. Compelling reasons exist for obtaining a much more complete understanding of these vehicles and the inferential superlative intelligence behind them. The discovery helped Dr. Bergrun explain a possible lunar connection with certain craters that appeared created by the backwash of a large spacecraft and not an impact. For a given electromagnetic vehicle, the maximum diameter for a round scar, aka a crater, would be a size approximating vehicle body diameter. Because these spacecrafts have long-range cruise capability, any solar system body becomes a suspect candidate for having experienced visitations. Due to the lack of detailed images of Saturn moons, available topographical imagery is rather sketchy and too wanting in overall detail for demonstrating application using other Saturnian satellites. In other words, we need to look at closer bodies to Earth to see for possible past landing of these large ships. Earth's moon, on the other hand, enjoys the most complete and highly detailed mapping of all the celestial bodies. Earth's moon makes an ideal candidate with which to test the concept of vehicle-created surface scars. Dr. Berggren and other scientists had observed that certain craters on the moon appeared not by impact but by the backwash of a very large spacecraft. It was not until the Voyager images that a deductive scientific reasoning was employed to back-engineer the size and shape of one possible large extraterrestrial craft that once rested on our moon. Of all the lunar scars, those of Mare Oriental or Eastern Sea rank among the most spectacular and noteworthy. This lunar feature is not familiar to most Earth inhabitants because of its unfavorable location. By comparing the backwash craters made by our Apollo astronauts, and by studying the backwash effects of other similar, but much larger, craters, Dr. Berggren was able to construct a model of the size, shape and emission process of these crafts that might be related to the ringmakers of Saturn. For more details, go and get the book, The Ringmakers of Saturn, by Dr. Norman Berggren. Have other images, or evidence, of large ships been seen since the Voyager flyby of Saturn? Well, there was another historical anomaly in respects to Mars that happened in March 25, 1989. Purportedly a top-secret infrared photo taken from the Soviet Phobos 2 probe, showing an object approaching the Martian moonlet. Estimates say the UFO was approximately 15.5 miles long. You can reference one source in UFO magazine, Volume 7, N1, 1992. The Soviets had already packed a very powerful laser to be fired at the Martian moonlet Phobos. All went well until March 25, 1989. Something turned the Soviet probe into a spinner and the unmanned craft then disappeared. According to Zecharia Sitchin in his book Genesis Revisited, the rumor going around was that the Soviet spacecraft had encountered a huge UFO while in Mars orbit. In his book, Sitchin included a photo that the Russians released, which showed a large ellipse shadow reflected off Mars. Sitchin claims that the few photos Phobos sent back prior disappearing were never released by the Russians, and that they treated the entire matter as above top secret. Very suspicious. To conclude, let me tell you what was the catalyst to creating this video about the Saturn ringmakers. It all started when the makers of this video saw the circulation of this video. We are not saying that this video, that appears to be showing a very large spacecraft siphoning off energy from the sun, is real. Many scientific explanations have already been given to explain it away as a natural solar ejection. But, what if Dr. Norman Berggren was correct about the Saturn ringmakers? Also, what if that was really a large spacecraft, but the truth needs to be kept secret? Take into consideration this simple historical fact of the Brookings Institution advice to NASA. Shortly after NASA was founded, it sought out expert opinions on the international, legal and economic ramifications of the U.S. space program. The venerable Washington-based think tank, the Brookings Institution, responded with a 1960 report that included thoughts on dealing with aliens. Among the 186 pages of recommendations were 2 pages that addressed the question of what could happen if we established contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. Anthropological files contain many examples of societies, sure of their place in the universe, which have disintegrated when they have had to associate with previously unfamiliar societies espousing different ideas and different lifeways. Others that survived such an experience usually did so by paying the price of changes in values and attitudes and behavior. Since intelligent life might be discovered at any time via the radio telescope research presently underway, The consequences of such a discovery are presently unpredictable because of our limited knowledge or behavior under even an approximation of such dramatic circumstances. The report recommended continuing studies to determine emotional and intellectual understanding and attitudes regarding the possibility of intelligent extraterrestrial life, and studies to understand the behavior of peoples and their leaders when confronted with dramatic and unfamiliar events or social pressures. The latter aimed to determine how such information might be shared, or withheld, from the public. Let us pose the final question this way. If there are large extraterrestrial spacecraft traveling in our solar system, practically ignoring our small technological advances into their domain, would the ego and fear-based driven heads of all our military branches tell us the truth? Extremely unlikely. From their point of view, we can't handle it. So my friends, we suggest that all of you keep looking up and sharing what you record without ego or fear. Good luck in your hunt for the truth.